people who say, "I'm just being honest."
There's a phrase people use right before saying something uncomfortable, something sharp, something they already know might land badly. "I'm just being honest." It sounds reasonable, even responsible, as if honesty alone explains everything that follows. The words prepare the room, not for understanding, but for impact. And once they're said, the conversation quietly shifts.
It usually shows up mid-conversation. Someone gives feedback, an opinion, a comment no one asked for. There's a pause, a breath, and then the phrase appears, "I'm just being honest." It frames what comes next as necessary, as unavoidable, not rude, not personal, just honest. And suddenly, questioning the tone feels like questioning honesty itself. Over time, the phrase becomes a shield. It allows bluntness without accountability, opinions without care. Because once honesty is declared, everything else becomes secondary. How it was said, when it was said, why it was said. The focus shifts away from impact and toward intention. And intention, in this case, is treated like a free pass.
On the receiving end, the effect is quiet. You're left processing the comment and the implication. If you react, you risk seeming defensive. If you stay silent, the moment passes without resolution. Because the phrase closes the door gently, not aggressively, not loudly, just enough to make the discomfort feel like your responsibility to manage.
Most people don't use this phrase to hurt. They use it to feel justified. Honesty is seen as a virtue, a moral high ground, so labeling something as honest makes it feel necessary, even when it isn't kind. It removes the need to soften, to check timing, to consider context. The phrase protects the speaker from having to navigate the emotional part, because honesty feels simpler than care. And then, slowly, you recognize yourself. You've used the phrase more than once. Not to be cruel, not to dominate the conversation, but because it felt cleaner. You wanted to say what you thought without getting pulled into explanations, without managing how it would land. So you reached for honesty as a shortcut. "I'm just being honest." It sounded fair, transparent, even brave, and maybe it was. But looking back, you notice something else. How quickly the phrase closed the space for response. How it shifted the weight of the moment away from what was said and onto how the other person handled it. You weren't trying to avoid responsibility. You were trying to simplify the moment. And maybe that's the habit. Not choosing honesty over care, but choosing honesty so you don't have to stay in the discomfort that comes after.
"I'm just being honest" isn't a problem by itself. Honesty matters. Clarity matters. But sometimes the phrase does more than explain. It decides. It decides that tone doesn't need attention, that timing doesn't need care, that impact belongs to whoever receives it. And most of the time, no one argues with that. The conversation simply moves on. So maybe this isn't about honesty at all. Maybe it's about how easily a phrase can end a moment without actually resolving it. The next time you hear it or use it, you don't have to fix anything. Just notice what the phrase makes unnecessary. And if moments like this feel familiar, this channel is probably for you. Who approved this?